like curly hair is not considered the standard of beauty in India.
Really?
I don't believe it is, yeah. Everything I go to, if I go to like a photo shoot, they'll be like, why don't you ever experiment with your hair? And it's like, because it's not a beauty standard for India yet. And until it is, I'm going to keep mine curly.
I don't think the women, or I could say the men here, agree either.
I just think that
We love your curly hair.
I just think that in most films, they want to change it. You know, they want to make it straight. They want to straighten it. They want to put it back. Unless I'm playing a bad guy. Then it's cool. Then it's allowed. You know what I mean?
That kind of anti-hero stereotype.
Yeah, or
the slightly sinister character.
lafanga, you know, whatever. Not the like proper.
Not the boy you take home.
Not the male
Not
lead.
the boy you take home or crush on.
Yeah, and it absolutely happened to me. After Nirja, everyone was like, aren't you afraid you'll be typecast? And I was like, me? Typecast? I've never played a terrorist before in my life. There's no way. There's no way. Anyone who meets me will know that was acting, and it wasn't like the only thing I'm good at. And even in theater, up until then, I'd done so many other roles that I didn't expect it to happen, but it absolutely happened immediately. And now I have to actively say no to roles like that because you have to close one door sometimes for the possibilities of other doors even to
open.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, I just sit there and I hear the whole narration, and it sounds like it could be a gripping story, and I really did want to work with the other actor that they've thing in it, and I really did want to work with the director, but I'm playing a Muslim villain again. I'm playing a Muslim guy that sets bombs, and I can't, with a clear conscience, do that in the current state of affairs. So it's not funny, it's deadly serious.
So you actually turned it down because you think it basically reconfirms prejudice.
Absolutely, it does. It's all about partisan, divisive politics, and it's very confusing to me, and it's very sad also because I want to act more, and I want to act in more things, but I can't do this film.
So there are two dimensions to what you're saying. One is the broad stroke with which Muslims are depicted on screen.
Yeah.
And the other is, we've been told...
Evil.
Is it that much of a given? Are there no films that you think have attempted nuance and shades?
There of course are. There's some of those, but
too few.
I think too few. Yeah.
And if they do them, there's the skull cap and the beard, and no regular sort of you and me kind of portrayal. Very few.
It's rarer.
Yeah. So one dimension is that, the stereotyping, the prejudicial stereotyping. The other is the stereotyping of you individually. These are two different stereotypings, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about both of them separately, which is why maybe to one part the audience is like, okay, your curly hair trapped you, but the other point you're making is a much larger point.
Right.
So let's first unpack your stereotyping.
Not just the curly hair, it's all of it. It's that I look Middle Eastern in general because Parsis are from the Mediterranean and Persia, which is now modern day Iran. So we have similar features as far as that goes. In other parts of, also people think I'm a foreigner a lot of the time. I lived in Sydney when I was younger. I've lived in the States. I went to the American School of Bombay. I have a certain way of speaking. I understand why that would be considered that. But I'm like, but I'm from Bombay, and this is how I am. So there obviously can be other people like me.
No, absolutely. The reason I was intrigued when you said, they think this curly hair is not mainstream enough for a romantic hero.
That was an example. Huh?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Is that all day we've been having these conversations about this, this certain kind of male gaze that stereotypes women. And I think maybe we don't focus enough on the fact that there is a gaze that wants to put guys in the same kind of box.
I think the general trend is... because you don't want to really understand, because you don't want to really imagine, because you don't want to really look into anything. We're in a world of snap judgments, of immediate boxes, of it's easier to stereotype than to understand. I agree it's difficult living in a living in a metro city. You can't pay attention to everyone. It's impossible. If you tried to worry about every single person that passed around you, you'd be miserable. I woke up to a tweet this morning about how terrible I am because I left some kids outside a churro shop. I like tiptoed around them and ran away instead of saying hello to them. And how this is the person's pinned tweet now.
What?
They've pinned the tweet about how horrible I am to these poor little cuties.
What was this about?
I was drunk. I went in to buy churros. I wasn't able to interact with children properly. You know, I would have just been like, you know, it wouldn't have been good for me. So I've got the churros and I've very exaggeratedly making a game with the kids, been like, and like ran away, you know, essentially.
And someone's gone ballistic over
Someone has
this.
seen this and is like, da 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 da, dee 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 dee. You were the poor children. And I'm a bit like, wait, I'm so sorry. You ignore poor little cute children on a day-to-day basis. The homelessness problem in Bombay is humongous. Are you trying to tell me you stop every time a child wants your attention? Ha! Ha! What a hypocrite!
So how do you survive in this sort of vanity industry that you're in with that kind of attitude? You're obviously very bluntly spoken.
Am I?
I think so.
I've
I've interviewed many actors over the years, and they don't talk like this.
They
They have an image they're conforming to.
I'm terrified of saying the wrong thing in the wrong place and
You
losing
are?
out on work. Absolutely. I can't give feedback to a film without being worried that this person will now take that as a, I'll never cast you, or will tell other people that I'm rude, or I think the attitude generally, instead of let's take individuality, let's take a person with a strong sense of who they are and let's smash it entirely to pieces and make a suck up instead. Because that is easier to control, that is easier to mold, that is easier to do whatever with. I really don't know.
Well, maybe you're terrified, but it doesn't come across that way. And let me now ask you about unpack the other stereotype, about the film you turned down because you did not want
Right.
one more stereotypical portrayal of the Muslim citizen.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about that?
There are many films like that.
I know.
After Padmavat, I made a very conscious thing that I won't play another evil Muslim. And what I mean by that is, yeah,
You can clap if you want to. Yeah.
because it's just furthering the Islamophobia that is rampant in the world just now. And I'm not saying all are good, but all are definitely not bad.
Were you
Similarly, with any religion, with any group of people, it's like I watched Gurdas Maan perform at the Prithvi Opening Festival yesterday, and he had one line in Punjabi that I kind of understood. But I think the essence of it was, be a Hindu, be a Muslim, the person that pulls down a temple or a mandir are the same. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
But am I sensing there a kind of discomfort with your character in Padmavat? Did you feel there were shades of like caricaturing Muslims? Because you said after Padmavat, I decided I did not want to play another bad Muslim.
Yes, because I was approaching it very naively at the time. I was approaching it with like, oh, what a cool role. And it's true. Malik Kafur is a cool role.
Yeah.
Alauddin Khilji is a cool role. You can't deny that as an actor, looking at that part, you're like, ooh, wow, I want to get into that person's head. After that point, I had to accept the fact that this is what I'm getting called for over and over again, and maybe this is damaging to the society as a whole, and through these kinds of portrayals. So don't get me wrong, I going back in time, I would do Malik Kafur again. You know, it's not
that you're saying, I wish I hadn't done that.
no, not in the slightest.
Would you
Not
have
in the
played it?
slightest.
Would you have played it differently?
No.
So what was the conscious decision about then?
That I was just getting offered that over
Only
and over
those
again.
kind of
yeah.
roles.
Nirja, Rabta, Padmavat, they were all that. You know, they were all the evil.
And you think that was amplifying a certain prejudice in the environment in any case?
I think that I do not want to pinpoint these films.
As being the only ones, obviously. No, I'm not suggesting that.
No, and as far as things go, they were the most interesting. It's just I was new and I was doing everything that I could get. And only in the last 2 years have I made this conscious decision of like, I'll not do it unless it's from that person's perspective. If it's from that person's perspective, that's a different thing entirely. Then they are the protagonist of the film. Then you're interested in finding out who they are and what makes them tick and why they have got to this point, like how you would find out about the hero, you know, or whoever. I don't believe those are the only kinds of films being made. I believe there's a great spectrum of films being made, but like, at this point, I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. That's all I can say.
Good for you. Do you feel like a bit of a misfit in the film world? You have a strong theater influence.
I'm the most talked actor in Bollywood.
of this generation. You are. That doesn't.
What misfit?
That doesn't mean you don't sometimes feel a disconnect.
Shoe in.
No, but come on, answer the question.
I know you want me to answer this.
Answer the question because there is some disconnect clearly between what your mind is saying to you and another part of you. Just listening to you, I can pick it up saying, okay, but if I say too much about this, that's my industry. Those are my colleagues. Those are my peers.
Yes.
It's fair to have. We all have those conflicts.
Right. Yeah. As would everyone.
And we all do. Yeah, I'm not saying that in some judgmental way. We all do.
There'll be problems you have with the industry you're in, as well as things that you love about the industry.
God knows I have problems with the news media. Don't even get me started. I won't even be like half as measured as you.
I know, I bet. I still want roles, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I still need roles. Please keep casting me. I'm just joking. I love Bollywood. It's great. It's amazing.
They believe you.
I'm looking at that camera back there in case anyone's watching.
What's life like in the camera gaze? Like this pinned tweet about the kids who said you weren't nice to them.
What a shameful person he is. He's just horrible. He didn't say hello to the children. What a guy. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't like it. You know, I was walking into the place and someone has stuck a camera in my face. I'm still trying to have a conversation with Sania. That's called me 1,000 times already. And she's telling me when the thing is.
It's because you have a
I
flight
it's
to
my fault,
catch. It's not our fault.
Sania, I'm on your side. I'm sorry. Yeah. And so she's, anyway, and I'm trying to be like, oh, what time is happening and what is this and what is that? And someone stuck a camera in my face and is like, so what are you wearing today or whatever? And it's like, I have 1 second. So, you know.
Yeah.
And I get flustered and I'm not good at leaving the house with a perfectly manicured idea of what an actor should be. Gracious, charming, friendly. I'm just not good at that.
Yeah.
I feel actually instead it creates a persona about you and you can no longer
get out of ever.
Truly be vulnerable in front of the camera in the same way. Because you're no longer vulnerable in your life and your whole life is a giant act and consequently your characters feel like a giant act as opposed to a raw, vulnerable, strange, troubled, possibly not good all the time person, which I think we all are. And you know, we can be all good to certain people given if the mood is right and if the timing is right and all of those other things. And if not, we can be assholes, you know?
Yeah, we can all be assholes, but the question is this. And I'm particularly intrigued with your profession in this dimension. How do you then retain your authenticity? Because you are, whether you like it or not, playing a persona.
I'm losing it as we speak.
What do you mean? Like now, in the here and now?
Yeah.
Like that alti-palti betna is part of it?
Alti-palti betna?
Cross-legged. You just crossed your legs.
No.
You're the first guest who did that today, so...
No, I mean that like... It just happens to you. If I pretend like I'm above it, I'm not. It's like you dance with the devil, you change. The devil doesn't change. It's the same thing. Yeah. You dance with this like idea of fame, idea of like, you know, now like if somebody doesn't let me into a place for free, I'm like, oh, I see, you know, whatever, you know. And it's nonsense. There's no reason they should. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't be taken to the front of the line. It's ridiculous. But, you know, I already am starting to
get used to it.
Hunger for it, you know, and like then if it's not there, I'm like, oh, you know. So it's tricky because there are advantages, there are disadvantages. You have to take the both. Ideally, you have to be gracious for both. Sometimes I can't be. Sometimes I can be.
I think that's a fair and honest answer. Questions? Oh my God. Okay. Let's start.
Jim, we met a couple of years ago, and we were having this
Was
conversation.
he nice to you outside a
He
store,
was
or did you put up?
amazing, and I want to mention this. So we were having a conversation. This was after your glass menagera in Rang Shankara, and somebody interrupted. The conversation was good, and I want to continue that.
Oh, no. We don't have time to continue your conversation here. Ask your question.
Yes, the same question. So the thing with Jim is, women tend to hound him. There's the bit of sexualization that happens with him. That's not a good thing. I mean, you started about stereotyping, and I was hoping the question was about that. You know, we always talk about the male gaze when it
You're
comes to
saying
women
there's
actors.
a female gaze that's as oppressive?
Yeah, or not oppressive, but they're constantly judging him, and also, sticking the camera up before his, and passing comments about your looks, your body, and the like. So I just wanted to know your views on that.
Listen, ideally for me, it's a situation where if that bothers you, it bothers you, and you should be able to speak up. And if it doesn't bother you and you're enjoying it, you should be able to enjoy it as well. The problem is just now that it's like very limiting. I think it's a lot more limiting to women than it is to men.
Absolutely.
And consequently, that's where the problem lies. I think if we got to a point where there really was a kind of equality, then I would like to catcall, in the comment section to people I find attractive in the same way. But just now, unfortunately, that's damaging when it happens to women. Whereas I don't feel it's really that damaging when it happens to men. Because men and women aren't afforded the same sexual liberty. Like, I'm looked at like cool if I'm a player, whatever. Or if I have women, whereas a woman will be looked at as a slut.
Yep.
And until that changes completely, I can accept one of them, but I can't accept the other one. When the two things are equal, which to me is an ideal world, which, guys, for Christ's sake, stop being such dicks. You'll actually have more sex. I don't understand. What's wrong with y'all?
Thank you for saying that, though, because I was going to argue with her saying it's just not the same thing.
Yeah,
We live in such an unequal world that it's...
Just be nice to girls and appreciate them. What's wrong with all of you? Just, I don't get it. Create a society where a woman can want and express their sexuality in the same way that you can. It'll only be good for you, you idiots.
Well said. Okay, next question. Yeah, let's take this young man there, yes.
Hi. I really loved your character in Made in Heaven. And speaking of masculinity, what Made in Heaven brought to the table was homosexuality also. And I think that when we talk about masculinity, homosexuality plays a major, major part. And
in how masculinity is constructed,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to ask you was, although Bollywood, the film industry is considered a very inclusive industry, and people say that, oh my God, sab log hi gay hote hain. But
Sab log hi gay hote hain?
yeah, as in people, you talk about it that way. But when I actually look at it, I don't see a lot of representation, and which is really required.
Okay, got your question. Let him respond. Fair point.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, next one. There, left.
You know what I mean? Everything is like it's very caricaturish in general, all of the representations, and I believe that like for that to change, you need to see more people who are the protagonists. Not just the one token character. You need people where you actually find out about them, and there are different versions of them, and not just one type that we've come to accept in the mainstream culture. There are a billion types of gay people, just as there are a billion types of straight people. Only when we start accepting that complexity and including them in films will you feel like anything is different. Is that changing? I really don't know.
Okay, question there? Yeah.
Hi. When you spoke about individuality...
Speak into the mic.
Yeah. When you spoke about individuality, it's true to every profession that we are in, like be it a corporate. The question is to both of you all. So how do we deal with...
How do you survive as an individual?
Yeah, because our society is not so...
There are people who choose to move with the herd. There are people to stand sometimes alone. There's a cost to standing alone. I guess you're talking about that. How do you preserve your individualism?
Yeah, there is a cost to standing alone. People will not like you. Otherwise, they really love, and I think No, many societies around the world. There's a story of the Korean air pilots. Have you heard of this? Where the pilot is really fucking up, and the two co-pilots are providing very polite suggestions as to how to solve the situation, but aren't just being like, stop it, and fixing the problem. The plane crashed. Everyone died. It's on the black box. It's clear that the hierarchical system has stopped them from playing this out. And I think we too in India really believe in and subscribe to a hierarchical system where the boss is always completely right and will listen to nothing in response. And we all have I think we have a bit of a God complex situation going on where you just have to say yes, 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 yes until you're the boss. Then you can make everyone else say yes, 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 yes.
Do you care about being liked? You said if you're an individual, you may not be liked. Do you care about being liked?
Of course.
Really?
Who doesn't care about being liked?
I mean, after a point, you're like, I want to be liked by the people I like. I don't really give a shit about the others.
I mean, to a certain extent, but I can't pretend that I like
I mean,
walking
you're in
into a
different
room where people don't
space.
like me. I mean, it's much better that you all cheered. If I walked in and you all booed, I would definitely not have been as open and articulate. Being liked is wonderful.
But there's a catch-22 there because you're saying that you've got to fit into a certain norm to be liked.
I know, but that doesn't mean I don't like to be liked. I wish I was liked for exactly who I am. Now, what can I do? If I'm
Okay.
not, I'm not.
Okay, there at the back. What is the time, by the way, guys? What's the time? Someone tell me the time. 7:40? Okay,
we got 10 minutes. We got
we
10
have
minutes.
10 minutes. Put the timer back on. Okay, yeah.
Hi, I'm Pallavi.
Yeah.
Jim, I had a question. You spoke about how you wouldn't want to play any more roles as a villain. So what roles do you think would further your career in
He actually
Bollywood?
said, I don't want to play another Muslim villain.
Okay, sorry.
That's it.
There's a point there.
There
of
is
the
a point there,
stereotype.
yeah.
That's
What
why.
type of roles do you think will further your career in the path that you would
All
like
kinds
to do?
of roles, comedic roles, dramatic roles, lead roles.
See, you're liked. They didn't clap like that for me.
At least in this room.
Joking. But okay, next question.
I should move to Bangalore. This is-
Here in the second row, stand. Yeah.
Firstly, I love you. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
And
Why are you sorry?
'cause,
Why are you sorry?
You said valid questions only.
Oh, okay, good point.
And what?
Do I love you?
She doesn't want the answer to that. Okay.
What made you get into acting?
It's not a choice.
What do you mean?
I don't believe in choices.
What do you mean?
I don't believe there is such a thing as choice.
What do you mean?
I think that things just happen to you and you just...
Like you think you have no agency, you have no decision-making power, that you don't have, if you wanted to be like a banker and an actor, you didn't make a choice there?
No.
I mean, you could have been a banker.
I don't think I could
I
have.
think you would have been a great banker.
I don't think it's even possible. What I mean is, I think the forces that I've said this there's this poem, Involuntary, you can look it up online. It's where I flesh this idea out a bit more there. I don't think we have time to go into it majorly, but I believe that by the time, they say most psychiatrists agree that by the time you're 7, basically all the pathways that can possibly be formed in your head have more or less been formed. You just develop and strengthen those and sometimes cut them off and, sometimes even manage to forge new ones. But the potential for that is already determined by the time you're about 7. They've stretched it to 7. Before that, they used to say it was 4. Now, I don't remember anything before I was the age of 4. So how can I say I have any agency? I don't even remember what happened to me.
Everything was good
During
till
the
that
most-
point,
during the
and
most-
then you kind of lost me.
During the most crucial developmental years of my life, when my biology is interacting with my environment, I don't even remember the forces that shaped me. One second. I don't even remember the forces that have shaped me, that have affected me, that have created those pathways. And I'm going to pretend now that I'm in charge of my life and I know what's going on and I make decisions. No, all of those things. If you could go back and look at my biological structure, my parents' biological structure, look at their entire lives, watch from the moment I'm born until the moment I'm sitting here, all the things that I'm saying would make perfect sense if you could see everything.
So you're saying even when you say you've made a choice to not do certain kind of roles anymore, that flows from a certain predetermined set of influences.
Absolutely, and that is a privilege based on my upbringing and my education, and for me to then judge somebody else who does not make that decision would be ludicrous, because they haven't made the decision has just happened. It's because of the life that they've lived up until that point. Now, it's very fun to judge and sneer at other people for those kinds of things, and I indulge in it frequently, but that's also not my choice.
Oh, the convenient.
No, it's not about excuses.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is.
I'm sorry, it's not.
See, the thing
I
is...
completely disagree. Everything that you are just now, you want to make it
Of
about...
course, I'm a product of
forces
many influences.
impossible for you to understand.
I agree
Impossible.
with you. I agree with you that we're all shaped pretty early on by a set of influences that we then can't escape. But I still think there are choices available at every stage of our life. For example, the choice to be an individual or stand with the herd, the choice to play another Muslim villain or not play another. These are choices.
No, I don't believe...
The choice for me to be a shouting news anchor or talk to you nicely.
I don't believe...
It's a choice.
No, I completely disagree.
What part do you disagree with?
With all parts.
I'm going to take the next question because he'll miss his flight otherwise. Okay. There at
I
the-
still disagree, huh?
I know. So do I. Okay.
She is the way... If we could go back and
I have a
see
question.
her birth, understand her biology, completely understand it. Understand see every force that affected her from that moment onwards. If we could really see it, she would make perfect sense exactly how she was. The fact of the matter is, we cannot see all of those things, and consequently we do all of these other things.
Okay.
This isn't to be excuse for your life. No, try to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Of course. Try, though.
But you're saying there's a certain amount of predeterminism. I'll take a question there on the left. The young woman.
Complete
standing.
amount of
One second,
predeterminism.
guys.
1 minute. I'm calling out the questions. Her, then you. Yeah.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Barkha. I
Hi.
think you're doing really well for whatever that we've seen you so far. And I just have one question. I want to ask that you've done this one set of roles that we've seen you on the big screen, and the other set that's Made in Heaven, the series that we've seen, and that's really good. So are you going to do more of those? Because that's something that we'd like to watch.
Web series is?
Yes.
Have you watched Flip?
Yes.
You watched Flip?
Yeah.
You watched Massage?
No, I haven't seen that. But I've seen the entire Made in Heaven, and I really liked your role in that.
Watch the Massage first, then we'll talk about new ones, na? Watch the Massage at least.
Is your point that people aren't watching the kind of roles they want you to do more of?
Actually, yeah, people say, oh, we've never seen you in these characters. I'm like, it's available on Netflix. You watched Jonaki. You watched Tina Radha. You watched Massage. Watch now, then we'll talk.
Okay, so then maybe that's not
When interviewers
like,
come and they're like, Jim, you only play these roles. I'm like, what movies have you watched of mine? And they'll list the three movies that I do play those roles. I'm like, listen, I've been in 12 movies. Okay?
Fair. Okay, there. You were standing with a question, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think free will is your thing, fate is his.
What's your question?
My question is, what do you guys feel about free will and fate?
We just shelved that.
Yeah. My
Where-
opinion
where-
of it is that you need both, right?
See now, yeah,
A
that's
bit of both, a mixture of both.
unstoppable
right?
force, immovable object. This is not going to change right now. Right?
Fair enough.
I mean, if you did not have a 10 p.m. flight, I would really pin you down and win the argument.
I seriously doubt that.
Because it's not a choice. I just win the argument. It's not
I-
a choice.
I-
It's predetermined. I'd win the argument.
I mean,
Changes flight
if-
because it's not in his hands and it's predetermined.
if what she's saying is true, then I'm right. No?
Ah, touche. All right. Question at the back. Yes, in the striped pink shirt. Stand. Yeah.
Barkha, namaskar.
Hi.
And I'm really nervous, and I really love you, and I'm not sorry about it. So my question to you is that there's a lot of injustice that happens around the film industry. The people who are star kids, they get better opportunities and lead roles before the people who actually work hard. So
How loud did you all cheer for Sarah Ali Khan?
Very loud. Very loudly.
But then I ran out for you, but I guess you were too busy to click a picture, so.
Oh, that's the next pin tweet. Next pin tweet. Question.
But you can make up for it by giving me a hug, but that's your choice.
Is
again.
this the question?
No, my question was that there's a lot of injustice that happens around the industry. The star kids get lead roles instantly, whereas the people who really work hard don't really reach that point that quickly. So what is your say on that?
Not with no rudeness. I'm sick and tired of talking about nepotism. I'm sick and tired of it. I just want to get roles. I really don't have any answers to these things. I just want to act more. You know what I mean? It feels like half my energy goes in talking about other people. Like, I want to talk about, acting. And I want to be able to be critical of a film. I want those changes just now. I want to be able to be like, actually, listen, this is what I thought you were missing. There was a certain kind of shading between this part and that part that I didn't see there. You just jumped straight from this to this.
But you're imagining a very complex world, whereas we live in this world which is no nuance. It's flattening out all conversations. So, how does
Sucks.
this? It does suck. We agree, finally. Okay, here, third row. Yeah.
Hi Barkha, hi Jim. You're like a breath of fresh air, and your whole body language and characteristics are so different from the other Bollywood protagonists that we see. So what do you do?
Protagonist.
How do you maintain your individuality in an extremely oppressive, which creates stereotype, industry?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I really don't know. I didn't have a stylist today. I just wore my own clothes. I don't know if that helps.
What's with that, by the way? Like, just
What's the deal with stylists and stuff?
No. Like, do you all never like you have today? Is that very unusual?
What?
To step out without someone styling you?
I mean, I was in the lift with Sara Ali Khan, and I was like, oh my, I'm underdressed.
But maybe that's like the vibe and all.
What, my vibe?
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I really don't. This is Basquiat. This is a Basquiat painting. This is also a Basquiat painting.
Yeah. So you're being like this.
Somebody painted it on this jacket
so
for me.
Like
That's cool. I
yeah,
want
I
to wear
think
it.
it's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's cooler than being styled.
Yeah.
Isn't it cooler than being styled?
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
I have the best stylist though for like events and stuff. Tanya Vora, I love you. You're the best. She really is the best.
Last question, because otherwise you will kill me. Okay. Last question. Somebody take that last question.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Barkha.
Hi.
Sorry, try? I don't know. I really don't have any kind of clear, concise answer for this. I'm sure there are enough people that see me and think, he's changed so much. Already. I don't know. It's a struggle. You keep trying. You hope to meet people who respond to your individuality and not your sycophancy. But
that's well put.
I just can't say that you'll find them. It's completely based on luck and of trying to stick it out and hoping.
Okay.
So sorry.
This has to be the last question. Yeah.
First of all, Jim, you don't need a stylist. You're doing fabulously yourself.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, my question is a little broader, directed towards everybody. I've been sitting here. This is the sixth discussion that I've been part of. And I've had a lovely, blessed day seeing so many empowered women talking about their journeys. And it has been quite remarkable that I've noticed that there has been, and there's a reason why I'm mentioning this, there has been a beautiful mix of progressive Hindus and of Muslims on the stage all throughout. Widows from the army, where we live in a polarized time, where everything about Muslims is literally being questioned. It's regressive to the hilt. Now, when people of influence such as y'all, whether y'all come from the film industry or whether y'all come from the corporate world or what have you, when y'all raise your voice, and rightfully so, because it's always the intellectuals, the artists, the liberals who've taken society ahead. It's never been mediocrity. But when y'all do that, there is some joker in Bihar who's going to just slap on one court case on all 50 of you. So, as a Muslim, as an actor, and to all the previous panelists, as women, as mothers, as influencers, as leaders.
I'm a Parsi though.
Yeah, you're a Parsi. Right. But what I mean to say is, I'm talking about
sorry. Okay,
minorities.
I'm
talking about a
The
larger
point
context.
you're making is that for speaking up and for keeping that mix and that syncretism, there
Yes.
could sometimes be some freak somewhere.
My question
Quickly,
is that
because-
how do you, first of all, do you see that there is a bigger, larger canvas there or a responsibility where you
Okay, got your question.
should speak up? Because Bollywood stars never do.
Got your question, and I think there's a fair point somewhere in there, but I also think that when they do, there's something systemic about the fact that, there isn't that institutional freedom maybe to speak up. Jim, you have, but not everybody does, and I think there's a point there.
You just can't say should. There is no
maybe
rule.
Maybe people want to and they don't.
I believe you can't say should. I don't believe there is some rule for who should and who shouldn't. It's up to them. It's up to the lives that they've had. It's up to whether they have the capacity for that and then dealing with the consequences. Not everyone has the same capacity, and to judge everyone as the same is the only way you can say should. I don't believe in that anymore at all. And this isn't to make an excuse for people that don't. It's to try to understand the forces that have resulted in why they can't or why they don't. And I think instead of looking to other people to create that change, you should do what you can do. And if you can do something, and if you can speak up, and if you can have that kind of influence, then even within the 3 people you touch, that's important. I would much rather hear your testimony of having done it and it be a success than hear you tell me who should have done what.
I have to say that's like the second or the third time I agree with you totally. Woohoo! I mean, that's a bit scary, given that I disagree fundamentally on that other point. We have to say thank you to Jim. I could talk to him forever, but he's got a flight, and I promised him a hard out at 8. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. This is our closing. I saved the best for last, right? Right? Thank you, Bangalore, for being a wonderful audience. It's been a great day. Thank you for supporting We the Women, and we'll see you next year. Thank you very much.